Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining the Elevate Direct webinar. I think we've given the late arrivals enough time to download Citrix and whatever else they may have forgotten to do ahead of time. Yeah, welcome to this webinar focused on automated sourcing and direct hiring of contractors, specifically for in-house recruiters. I hope you can all hear me properly. If there are any technical issues, then please try to let me know within the app, and we'll try to solve them for you as soon as possible. A little bit more housekeeping. Feel free to put your questions into the question box on the app whenever they come into your mind. If it's okay with you, we will keep them till the end of the webinar, and we'll deal with all questions in one go, if you like. Just to keep moving through the webinar so I don't kind of lose my place in my trail. So what are we going to be focusing on today? We are going to take a look at the an overview of the resourcing landscape for hiring contractors, for hiring non-permanent freelance staff. What do you need to do to utilize a direct strategy, and how we might be able to impact that for you. Some of you may already be quite a way into a direct strategy. Some of you may be heavily dependent on vendors still. It isn't a transition that comes without risk, there's probably quite a lot of stuff that you need to do to make that transition. So before we jump into that, I wanted to just give you a bit of insight into me, James Griffin. I'm the Client Services and Operations Director here at Elevate. What gives me the right to talk to you about these things? Well, I come with over 12 years experience from the recruitment industry, both from the agency side, don't hold that against me forever, but also as an internal recruiter and resource manager for a consultancy business in the City of London for a number of years. So I think as a result of that, I understand the pressures and constraints that a hands-on resourcing role or a resourcing or recruitment manager's role within the kind of in-house environment really holds. When you've got numerous stakeholders shouting for CVs, candidates to manage, interviews to schedule, ads to write, the list of tasks is pretty long. I can really empathize with that. So alongside that, I think it's important to note as well that I've been a really avid follower and user of innovation in the technology space within recruitment, and an early adopter of quite a lot of systems, some which aren't around anymore, some that have gone on to be huge success stories such as LinkedIn and other brands that we know quite well. So I've been following this for quite a few years. It's nothing particularly new to me, but I think what we're doing here at Elevate Direct as a end-to-end sourcing and post-hire contractor management platform is really quite refreshing. So moving on to a quite obvious kind of workflow that you've probably all seen similar workflows to this before, or similar graphics. I want to kind of think about a scenario that we've all been in. Some of them maybe today, some of us years ago. The scenario is you've got a new role, a new requirement has been signed off or approved. What do you actually do? Okay, so some of you will push it to your PSL. You'll lean on your vendors. You've established some relationships with those guys, and you like to kind of outsource it to them. That's fair enough. Some of you will be advertising and sourcing yourselves. Whichever route you're going down, whether you've got a blended direct or vendor model, or whether you're specifically direct or exclusively vendor, it all amounts in the same thing. You're going to have to work through a lot of specific tasks, of which they're very kind of disparate as you move through systems that you utilize to hire contractors. Now, what we've found with our clients is that even organizations who have implemented ATSs and have invested heavily in that technology, they may not be using that to hire their contract staff, their freelance staff. Now, maybe that's to do with the immediate need of contractors and how your time to hire needs to be very, very quick. So what's the point in putting it on the ATS? Or maybe it's because the ATS doesn't perform what you need it to do. But you know, they're all labor-intensive parts of a recruitment process. Now you'll notice that the workflow here goes all the way from sign-off to payroll. So you've gone through the filtering, the view, you've submitted applications to your line manager, you've got feedback, you've interviewed, you've selected. You know, I don't want to teach you guys how to suck eggs. You know how this process works. You've onboarded, and you're managing timesheets and payroll as well. Now, again, if looking to move to a direct model, these are real considerations. If you're heavily dependent on a PSL, on vendors, they are probably doing most of that for you. Now, what we think is important within you know, moving to a direct model is to try and centralize that as much as possible. Okay, so if I just move on to the next slide, you'll see that the key challenges here are all ones that we've seen numerous times. Okay, finding the talent, sourcing the right people for your business. You know, there are some dark arts to recruitment. There are some really clever people out there who will find you amazing candidates. Ones that I or other guys on this webinar might not be able to find themselves. But you know, there are various ways to those talent pools. You want to probably reduce your reliance on agencies if you are moving to a direct model. Time to hire, cost to hire, you know, two very well-known terms that everyone's probably measured by or certainly aware of. And compliance as well. You know, your key challenges in making sure that any co-employment issues or your back office processes within you know, timesheeting and payments and all those kinds of things are managed. Now, there aren't that many systems that are essentially offering this whole workflow that we looked at just previously within one platform. Okay, so here's another slide. We've got a whole host of providers, of technology companies. Some you probably heard of, some you may not have heard of. The sourcing market within recruitment has never been busier. There's money at the table now from California as well, so you know, you're going to see a lot more startups entering this field. Now they seem to follow, you know, a few kind of well-trodden paths. Let's take an example. Guild, they aggregate content from social platforms, put it together in a very pretty user interface. They don't tell you whether a candidate's looking for work or how much he costs. And they don't really give you a contact mechanism. You certainly can't, you know, send them a direct message or find their phone number. We all know LinkedIn, you know, very successful business. Got some challenges ahead of it, I believe. Got an amazing data set. Not sure if they're quite clear what they're going to do with it over the next few years. Still some frustrations I'm hearing from recruiters about, you know, who's looking for work, are they contractors, are they permanent staff? So whether they're aggregating social data, whether they're looking at like RecCloud over here, they're using social media to go and ask for referrals and other such mechanisms, or whether like only marketing jobs, but you can guess what they do. You know, there are niche job boards. The proliferation of niche job boards over the last few years has been pretty staggering, and they do a job. You know, let's not get away from it. They do perform, but are they really effective at offering you guys a full end-to-end solution if that's what you need, or offering you automation in how you find your contractors? Going on to find a marketing manager on only marketing jobs, you are still going to have to set up a job, and you're at the mercy of who sees that and who responds. There's very little automation involved in it. So I guess the key question is, how effective are they? How effective are they over a period of time? Okay, you can't really measure a service provider from putting one job on there, or you know, over a day, a month, you know, a week or whatever. How effective are they over a period of time? But having said that, I think it is important to remember with contract hiring, how effective are they quite quickly, you know, with each individual piece of work that you put on there. So, you know, I hope that resonates with a few of you out there about your kind of constraints in hiring, the pressures that we've all been under, and how are you going to find a way to improve your automated contractor sourcing, and this is a crucial aspect. How are you going to do that without massively pushing your costs up? Any one of these systems that we can see in front of us here has a cost associated to it. to get any content onto them, really. You may put some free status updates on LinkedIn, but you're not going to get a great response from it. They'll offer you free trials, but eventually you're going to have to look at some commercial terms, essentially, to utilize the system. Moving on to, or we've already had a look at the key features of Elevate, but just to reiterate them through some bullet points, we're looking at the automation of sourcing, so instant access to relevant contractors, and reducing your contractor costs, not actually kind of pushing them up, reducing them. Hopefully giving you a faster time to hire through that automation. You can actually do more with less capacity, if you understand what I mean. And we believe that we find you some really strong candidates as well. We'll find candidates that perhaps you won't find on job boards or anywhere else. And again, coming back to the streamlined end-to-end process from new requisition to onboarding and paying a new contractor. So at this point, I want to just remind ourselves of the scenario that we were in. We've got a new job. We've been it's been released via our ATS or our VMS or whatever system we use, or you've got an email in your inbox from your hiring manager. You know, you may go to your job boards, to your typical kind of sourcing tools that you use. You might push it to vendors. We'd like you to come and log into Elevate. You know, we can get you set up on Elevate Direct almost immediately, and you log in. Okay, it's a very intuitive system, very simple to use. Not simple as in straightforward. It doesn't really offer a great big learning curve that you have to go through. The level of complexity in some systems is quite a challenge. But we actually went the other way, and we think that enabling you guys to get on with your job as quickly as possible is the kind of key aspect to it. So here we are on the home page of a demo account within Elevate Direct. It is a relatively big system, and you'll see some navigations where my cursor is at the top here. There's some major kind of components to the app, some of them focusing on the administration and the back office aspects, other ones focusing on the more kind of front office tasks within sourcing and searching. So we're going to jump straight in, and we're going to have a look at our search feature. Now this is a Boolean search box. Now, you know, I'd expect most people on the call to understand, you know, Boolean. And I'm going to write a very straightforward Boolean search term. It is looking for a technical hire, looking for C++ and developer. Now it's brought us back over 2,500 results, which is completely unmanageable for anybody. So what we've got here is a Boolean search term which has searched the text of our candidates' profiles. Okay, we have a slightly different approach to the data and how you can analyze things. On the left-hand side down here, and I'll try and move my mouse slow enough. I have a tendency to move it a bit too quickly, but I'm trying to learn. You can see different facets based on most of the important aspects of hiring a contractor. Their rates, their notice periods. You may like to hire people from certain businesses, their status, their industries, their job title, and you can quickly click on these things and it will reduce down to a certain number. Okay, we've still got quite a few in that, so we're gonna push the rate down to, let's say, 400 a day, and we're going to say we're only looking for people who are available within a week. Okay, so very quickly you've got down to a manageable list of candidates, 20 candidates to review. Okay, so let's take a look at some. You click into the profile by clicking on their name, and you'll quickly see a profile. It looks not dissimilar to a CV. We actually take candidates' CVs and we push them through some parsing technology to create a profile. We believe that for candidate management, making sure the application process for a job is as straightforward as possible is absolutely crucial to success. If they get stuck in a long and boring application process, they won't complete. They'll bounce, and you'll probably never hear from them again. So let's have a look at the profile in a bit more detail. We've got 10 most used skills. What does that mean? That means within the CV, the parser has extracted the skills that over a period of time are there the most. So you can say with confidence that this guy has a lot of SQL experience, you know, ASP.NET, C#, it's all there visible. Underneath each bit of work experience, you will also see that you can see where the skills have been used. You should be able to see some tags. Here we go. So in green, you can quickly see where that skill was utilized under each individual employer. So again, about finding efficiencies for you guys to be able to look through a number of profiles relatively quickly. I'm actually going to add a slightly different facet to this, which is just going to leave us with two profiles now. And we're going to add these two guys. We've reviewed them, we like them. We're going to add them to a shortlist. Okay. You click on this green button. You can do it either within the list or you can do it within the profile view. These guys don't know anything about this. You've looked at their profile yet. They've got no idea. So what do we do from here? We review our shortlist. Okay. So we're moving from the search function of Elevate into the projects and vacancies area. Okay. Now, every time you review a profile and you want to move it forward in the recruitment process, you do have to attach them to a vacancy. Now, vacancies are all owned by projects. There's a very flat hierarchy within that. This is our own list of projects. And so you would go in here and you would decide that, or you would know whether the project that you are working on is already in there, and you would click in it and attach them to that project and that vacancy or not. For the purpose of this, we are going to create a new project to show you how quickly it can be set up. Just excuse me. So we'll create that project. Okay. Then we're very quickly into creating a vacancy. So we're going to call it a C++ developer. And here's kind of one I made earlier. I do have a job spec that I'm going to copy and paste over into the vacancy description. Now that is free text. It's there because a candidate will want to see it, but it isn't really of massive value to how the system essentially works. We do ask for a start date of your contracts. Contractors will want to know when a position is going to start. We do ask for a target rate and a maximum rate. Now we have built it that way so that there is some flexibility displayed within the job vacancies that the contractors will see. So we're going to create that vacancy. Okay. So we now open up into a second screen. We ask for a duration. So let's say it's a 3-month contract. We put in 12 weeks. And we ask for a specific location. These are all kind of mandatory fields that a contractor will want to see if he's going to apply for your job. He may travel to Manchester for a 3-month contract, but he'll want more money. He may travel to Edinburgh for a 6-month contract, but he'll want less money. It's all fundamentally important, and they're all relatively hard data points which we use. Now, down to the bottom end of this page brings us on to how we start to use data within the system. Okay, so we're hiring a software developer. You'll notice that these are predefined job titles. Okay, now this list can be added to. But we try to stay away from candidates adding their own job titles. We try to rationalize it a little bit so that we can better match candidates to your requirements as you use the system. So we're hiring a software developer. We've got C++ and we've got testing in there. Now that's been carried over from the search that we did within the search function. But I'm actually going to change this. And I'm going to put in a specific, or maybe I'll just leave it as it is, and we'll see what that does. So, if you wanted to have any specific level of experience and when they last use it, you can do that, and it will refine the matches to your job dependent on what you put in. Okay, so we're going to click on Save Changes. Okay, now we can see immediately at the long list status the two guys that we shortlisted before have been carried over. Okay, so the work that we were doing a few pages ago has come through. We can also see here candidates suggested by Elevate. Now you probably remember when you signed up to this webinar was about automated sourcing of contractors. Okay, so here is a level of automation for you guys. Okay, all of these guys have been matched to your job based on the job description that we just created. Okay, it's now down to you to go through them and to review and to decide whether they are not suitable or whether you would like to move them further up the workflow by clicking on this green button. You'll notice I'm not spending an awful lot of time reviewing them, but if you wanted to go into it in a bit more detail, then you simply, that pops up and you scroll down and review and see what you think of their experience. Okay, so we've come up with a level of matching to your job requirement. What Elevate also does is we rank candidates based on what your organization has done previously within its recruitment, the workforce that you have previously hired. Okay, so to try and explain further, we're trying to mimic what a human does. Okay, a recruitment agent, an internal recruitment consultant. Over a period of time, your vendors and your internal recruiters will have learnt who you tend to hire, what hiring managers tend to hire, whether they like them with short-term contracts, whether they like them with minimum of 6-month contracts, whether they like them from non-for-profit organizations, whether they like them from banks, whether they like them from charities. It really depends. So within our algorithms, we're able to build that kind of sophistication in so that the ranking that you see within applicants will have a direct relevance on how efficient you are in your resourcing. Okay, so back to the workflow here. I'm actually gonna quickly jump into a different job for the process of showing you the workflow a bit further. This is a .NET developer role that we've hired internally at Elevate numerous times. We practice what we preach, and we do hire contractors to do a lot of work at Elevate. We're a big believer in them as subject matter experts to come in and really get a job done within a time frame. And you'll notice down the bottom here we've got our suggestions, we've got our automated sourcing, we've got our applicants, we've got our long list and our short list. Now from the guys who are on the suggestions, you could add them to your long list and then send them a job spec. You could send those job specs individually, or you could send them all in one go. Okay, for those of you who are quite heavily married to your inbox, that might be quite useful for you to be able to actually create a job lot of candidates that you like and then send them out one job spec. You can download the CV via that button there as well. And once you've moved candidates to the top of this page, it's basically a bottom to top workflow, you actually have a slightly different feature set to look at. So within here you can send a message to the candidate, you can store notes against the candidate. If you wanted to store notes against someone who had come in for an interview, so that you didn't forget what the next action might be for a hiring manager to see. You can schedule interviews and you can make offers once people have moved through the recruitment process and you're happy to hire them. So back to the job, you'll quickly see within Elevate that the ability to do all of these actions within one workflow, within one place, does offer you massive efficiency. Earlier on in the webinar we talked about keeping the plate spinning, and all of these things that you have to do. You have to manage candidates, you have to review them, you have to submit them to line. You can do all of those things within Elevate. So it's a highly efficient system that we think would add a lot of value to any organisation who are looking to commit to a direct strategy. So we are going to again jump away from this account, and I'll take it as slowly as I can. We touched earlier on ranking. On ranking of applicants and how we can go away and run some data models on your business and understand the hiring trends that exist within your business. Okay, so here we have a demo account of an energy trading organization. Okay, now you see here they've had 70 applicants for their PMO administrator role. There were 32 for the trading systems role, 3124. there's a lot of applicants there. Okay, so you can quickly see that it will bring in candidates for your roles, but that's not really automated sourcing, is it? That's not efficient. That's not really offering you guys any benefits over perhaps putting a job on a job board. So what we've told the system is that this client, this account is an energy trading, a financial services, a front office type environment. Probably a bit more relaxed than an investment bank, but nonetheless, they do like to hire people, and the data tells us that they hire people from competitors, similar organizations, investment banks, from other trading organizations, other energy organizations. So if we have a look at the PMO role, we should, with confidence, at the beginning of the list, see people from financial services, investment banks. Okay, this chap is certainly got a history within those domains. Let's have a look at Paul. He was actually at BBC World Service, and previous to that, he was at UK Power Networks, which is obviously an energy-based organisation. Let's have a look at Donald. He was previously with Deutsche Bank, one of the world's largest investment banks, working, looks like, within the front office area. So you can get some indication of how the rankings, features that we have within Elevate enable you to deal with a large number of applicants. So you review the top of the list, and with confidence, you've got candidates who your hiring managers are going to like, and they're going to move forward to interview. So you're not going to have to come back and iterate, maybe not even once, maybe once, maybe not again. Again, Daniel comes from an energy background with Empower. Let's have another look with Scott. He comes from an ETRM trading background from Sapient, who I know are a front office oil and trading consultancy, one of the biggest in the world. So this is what Elevate does. It understands your company by analysing the previous hires your company has made and ranks candidates accordingly, as you can see. So I think for most of us, and if I think back to my time at the coalface or managing people who are dealing with multiple roles, this would have been invaluable. This really would have made their life a lot easier. It would have enabled them to deal with more roles at one time, and reduce those risks of not finding the best candidates that are available in the market. Okay. Now I need to jump back very quickly. Sorry to jump around a bit, guys, but there's one thing that I haven't showed you so far, and I wanted to kind of leave it towards the end. But it's the vacancy that you created goes to create a unique URL, which is essentially a job advert that we can see here. Okay, so this is how we get candidates to apply for your job. Okay, you created this job spec you created this advert by creating that vacancy. The job spec that you pasted in goes in here. Details from the project level are in here. Details at a company level are in here. So you build a relatively, quite useful bit of employer branding in there. And this is how candidates apply for jobs. They see this and they apply. We SEO this content. We push it out over job boards. We push it out over social media. And we push it to a few other destinations as well, where we think suitable candidates for your job will hang out. They very quickly fill in this form, attach their CV, and they apply for the job. It's really straightforward, and the sign-up process can run as short as 30-35 seconds. So what we're trying to avoid is candidates bouncing, having a poor experience, and not coming back, because you notice this is branded Elevate Direct. If this was your job page, whatever organisation you work for Acme Limited, that would say Acme Limited there. So it is branded job content for you guys to enjoy as well. So important to remember that this job advert doesn't cost you any money. So there's another efficiency for you guys there. You're getting job content onto multiple paid job boards at no cost to yourself. So remember at the top of the webinar we started talking about a direct strategy and how you don't want to ramp your operational costs. Well, to this point of creating this advert, reviewing candidates and moving them through this workflow, you still haven't paid anything. So you haven't pushed your operational costs up at all. We do charge to use Elevate, but because we have moved to automate as much of these processes, the full end-to-end recruitment process as possible, and we're heavily dependent on technology to do that, you pay a vastly reduced cost. Some of you working in, let's say, healthcare, you're probably paying an agency margin of somewhere between 15 and 30%. If you're in IT, you're probably paying between 12, 18, maybe 20%. If you're in construction, probably somewhere in the middle. We are way down from that. So there's a few other features that I wanted to show you within Elevate before we do come to a close and go to any questions. We mentioned it being an end-to-end platform. Obviously, for you to utilize the system properly, you're going to have other colleagues using it. You can set up new users in a moment by using this feature here. You won't want all of your colleagues, your line managers, your accounts people, whatever, back office. You won't want them all having the same permissions as everybody. So within the user groups, you can define what access to the system people get to make sure that people can do what they need to do and probably nothing more. The company details bit is where we store some information about your business and your logo. And then moving over to the post-hire aspect of the platform, you've got cost centers in here. Now, when you hire a contractor, you will hire them against a cost center. Your cost center may be per project, maybe per location, depending on how you manage your budgets. You can pretty much define it how you like. And when you do find candidates on Elevate that you want to hire, you very quickly create a contract. You create that contract by putting their name in here. You define it via overtime and by rate. The contractor then accepts that contract, and they then are able to utilize the timesheets feature within here. There's no real paperwork to do. There's no printing, scanning, emailing. It's all done within the system. The contractors are working on a contract they previously agreed to via us, and you take advantage of that. And again, you have various different authorizers in here depending on the users that you have within the system. So yeah, whether you see Elevate working solely as a sourcing mechanism or a full end-to-end solution, I do hope it has been useful for you guys to understand how we could positively impact that, find you enormous efficiencies just on time and on cost, and streamline the whole process for you guys. We think that hiring contractors does need a different approach, and we have certainly, gone about it in a different way. And I hope that does come across for you guys today. I hope there would be a few follow-ups, maybe offline after the webinar, or if any of you had any queries at all, then please do let me know. There's one query just coming in now, looking at specific costs of the system. What if I hire a candidate found in the platform? So if you do hire a candidate found in the platform, you would pay between 5 and 7% markup on the day rate. So it's vastly reduced from the rates that we were talking about previously. It is still on a success model, and we do have a subscription pricing model for those of you who are probably looking to hire 10, 20, 30, 50 contractors via the system. For people who are looking at large numbers of contractors or a consistent number of contractors, we have a tiered pricing model depending on what levels of hiring you want to put through the system. And there's one other question that I can just see coming through now is, do you specialize in purely IT roles, or can you be used for finding all contractors? So yeah, that's a really good question actually, and we actively build new talent pools to kind of move us into different areas. I guess, to be honest, we have typically, probably up until about a year ago, we were focused, quite highly on IT. Over the last 12 months, that has diversified quite considerably, and we have been using various different routes to market to find contractors in marketing, as well as oil and gas over the last few months, which has gone pretty well with some of our clients. I think there's one more question that I can just see with regards to timesheets. Just 1 second. Just having trouble getting that up. Excuse me, guys. Just a bit of a novice on webinar, I don't mind telling you. So sorry, how does timesheet and invoicing work? So I think that was from Steve. Steve, I kind of answer your question directly. When you say work, so when you hire a contractor on the system, you create a contract in the system. When you create that contract, the timesheet feature opens up to that contractor. They then submit timesheets online for the relevant user, your side, whether that's you, Steve, or someone else who has a login to go in and authorize it. You know, it's pretty intuitive. Weekly timesheets, you know, based on an 8 or an 8.5 hour day, I think is how it works. I hope that answers your question. If you need any more details on it at all, Steve, then I'm happy to follow up after the webinar. And then a specific question from Anne. Would the applicants to roles be exclusive to the hiring company or searchable by everybody? The latter, and they are searchable by everybody. This is something we thought long and hard about, you know, when we started, you know, building the concept of Elevate. It is a shared talent pool, if you like, which is essentially no different to the status quo that exists in the marketplace right now. If you've got a candidate on your database, or you've got a candidate submitted by an agency, that candidate's details, it sits elsewhere. It's not exclusive to anybody. I know there may be a kind of a myth in the industry that he's on my database, I kind of own him, or he's mine. Unfortunately, it's not really the truth. Plus, you know, managing those candidates costs money. Managing those candidates on a database costs money. So we don't think we're offering anything particularly different to what exists in the marketplace. Of course, when you hire somebody within the system, they are no longer available, and their availability does change accordingly. So another question from Anne there is, how aware are the applicants of being on a searchable database? So I think that question kind of focuses towards engagement and how engaged our candidates are within Elevate. And I don't want to sort of bamboozle you with statistics, but they all agree to terms to being on there. It's all user-generated content. They applied for the job. The basis for that is that they either like the concept and applied to that, or they saw a specific job and they applied to that. So either way, they are 100% aware of being on a searchable database. And there's an email here from, a question from Chris. Can you allocate timesheets to multiple cost centers in order to break down by both project and department, for instance? I think if I understand that question correctly, we don't really deal with kind of departments within the platform. You can allocate, a contract can only be owned by one cost center. So we can't break that down over multiple cost centers at the moment. If we need to, we could look at it for you. We do, let's say we build technology on demand. You know, we're not able to allocate enough resources to do that. But if it's valid for your business and you need it, then we can certainly look at that and speak to our product managers and our techies and see how quickly it would take them to build it and what the value is to you. So a further question from Nigel, or a question from Nigel rather. How do we know candidates' profiles are kept up to date? Okay, so this is an ongoing challenge of ours, is to drive further engagement with contractors. The answer to that is that you can see it within the UI. That there is a last used feature or kind of information within a profile, which will tell you the last time a candidate used that skill. So by a process of kind of deduction, the last time they used it is probably the last time they updated their profile. So typically, contractors will come back to the system when they are looking for work, but we also do have quite an expansive contractor engagement program, and we're actually now building a forum to share information. What am I trying to say here? Share industry information with contractors, stuff around IR35, tax, all this kind of stuff, and what's going on with rates, what's going on in the industry, what's going on with skills, to drive them back, to make the site more sticky, so that people do come back again and again to Elevate, not just for jobs, but for other stuff as well. So it's an ongoing challenge of ours, Nigel, and one we are perfectly aware of. But as I said, there is a bit of a tell within the system which will tell you if the profiles are up to date. But remember, we're not just focusing on existing candidates within the database. We will also find you new candidates when you put a job on. So it's kind of organic as well as kind of reactive. So the guys who apply for the job, their profiles will be immediately up to date. So I hope I've answered that question for you. Is there any questions from anyone else? A further question from Anne: is the charge per hire only, or are there opportunities to have pricing for multiple hires? Yes, there are certainly pricing for multiple hires, Anne. We do run on a kind of success model. Most people use us. To start with, they put a few jobs on the system, they see how it goes. When they then see that we can, kind of strategically offer them a solution for their contract hiring, we then engage in discussions with them over tiered pricing. And the tiered pricing would be cheaper than the success model pricing, and we would get you down to somewhere around about, I think it's somewhere around sort of £200 per head per month, if you were running a contract book of about 10 people. Maybe don't quote me on that, but it is very competitive. It's in comparison to paying agency markup, we're way down. We're 70–80% cheaper than those guys. So we can certainly accommodate pricing for multiple hires. For people that are running large books of contractors or a consistent book of contractors, that is the way we would prefer to price it anyway, because it actually makes our back office and our invoicing a lot more efficient. So I hope that's answered. If there's any more questions for anybody, I'm just going to quickly scoot through the rest of these. I think coming back to Steve's question, I think you're still online, Steve. How does the timesheet and invoicing work? There was one aspect to that I didn't really answer, was around invoicing. You approve the timesheets, and the contractor would then invoice us. We would then send you, ideally, a consolidated invoice for all of the contractors that you are running via Elevate. Okay, and we then pay the contractor when you pay us, typical to an agency. So yeah, I think I did kind of omit that when I initially answered your question around timesheeting and invoicing. So yeah, I think that's been useful. I hope it has been for you guys. I've certainly enjoyed it. On the screen now, you should be able to see my contact details, and you can see a link to our blog. You can also follow us on Twitter. Please do follow up if you have any further queries. If you want to see the system in any more detail, then I'm happy to do a further demo if you guys come out and see you, whatever you guys might need. But unless there are any further questions for now, I think we'll